Well, top of the morning to everybody. Oh, it's a grand day, don't you know? Don is out for family, personal family day. A close member of his family passed away, and so he will not be on the show today or this afternoon show. It's going to be weird doing a show without him, but Bill, Bill is now our manager over at KGRA, and he called Chris and said, "Chris, do this show or you're fired."
It was pretty much like that. Hey,
Bill's scary, man. But I wanted to welcome Chris here for sitting in for Dawn. Now, just let you know, Chris is a retired homicide detective, but he was also the head of MUFON up in New York, right?
That is correct.
Yes. Now, is that New York? Don't know why I'm asking. It's dumb.
We like to call it upstate New York.
Upstate New York. That's where my buddy Graham lives. Graham Nolan.
We're actually now Western New York because I live in Buffalo, New York, the snow belt of the world. I've never seen so much snow in my life up there, but that's where we are now. So it's Western New York. Western
New York. Where you living now? Are you still up there?
Yeah, I'm up in Buffalo, New York, and most people buy an SUV. Not in Western New York, you go out and buy a snowblower, and that's pretty much your mode of transportation in the winter. You just get in the back of it and get the snow out of the way before you go anywhere.
Yeah, I used to have family up in Rochester.
That's up where Graham lives, right up there near Rochester. But I got to tell you, man, I should introduce you to. You'd like Graham. Graham is the co-creator of Bane from Batman, and he was one of the top Batman artists for years. And if you didn't know this, if they didn't tell you, I work in the comic and publishing industry. I do artwork, movies too. I storyboarded Tom Hanks's still in pre-production movie No Better Place to Die with Dale Dye, and I'm an official employee of Warriors Incorporated and Warriors Publishing. I'm the artist, the official artist of Warrior Publishing. Those are my bragging rights.
Well, I can't draw a stick man, so you got up on.
Yeah, me. And I'm so grateful because people, I can't draw, and I'm like, thank God, it's already competitive enough. It's like I don't need any more. But I'm also, like yourself, a veteran, and part of why we do Dangerous Nerds, and I'd like to get you on there.
Sure.
Today we're interviewing my buddy Mike Casacarello. I have trouble with Hispanic names, Martin. Did you know that?
What happened?
Martin. And he's going to be our guest today. He is a Wounded Warrior. He's also with Wounded Warrior Project, as well as the WTF Nation Radio, and he does a military-themed radio show with them. And we've been friends for a while, and just a real hero of a guy. He was wounded in action 5 times in one fight. He got shot 5 times.
Holy cow.
And he was one of those guys that ran towards the fire, not away from it. He didn't hunker down. He went to go help a guy and got himself wounded, had to learn to walk and use his hands all over again. And he came back from it, and this is the thing is, PTSD is something that we talk about. I have it, but not from the military. I'm like, the military is fun for me. All my stories are cheeky and funny. But where mine came from was a mixture of my working in EMS, growing up in an abusive home, and finally, the one that really sent me over the edge was dealing with the kidnapping of my daughter. And I got her back thanks to state local police, I got my daughter back in Illinois, and
That's good.
I raised her by myself. And it's not raising her that gave me the PTSD, but I should tell her that. Raising you gave me PTSD.
I will tell you, I have PTSD too, and I split it between the military. I got most of it from the military, but I got a lot of it when my daughter turned into a teenager. You know, that head spins around.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God!
When she was 12, she came home. She was having her first thing, and she decided to direct all of her rage, internal biological rage, at me. And I just turned and looked at her. I said, "You, whoever you are, leave the room. Go to your room, and whatever it is that's up your ass, pull it out and come back out here with my daughter."
I actually called the Catholic priest. I said, "We need an exorcism. There's something wrong here. We got to do something." I told my wife, I says, "Honey, forget about the college fund. We're going to need bail money." As sure as not, as I speak now, but thank God, it somehow or another, when she went to college and got that first drunken, craziness out of her, she actually got down and actually
mellowed out a little bit. It's sort of what my daughter is now.
I get a call at 2:00 in the morning. "Dad, I broke up with my boyfriend. I need a calzone." And I go, "What do you want from me? Calzone?" I had to drive up to Brockport, from Syracuse, where I was at the time, and to get her a calzone and console her because she broke up with her boyfriend.
Yeah, but
my wife insisted, "We got to go up and see you. I mean, your daughter needs you."
Yeah.
For a calzone? Come on.
But you got to love that. I mean, I often will say, since my daughter's raised and grown.
Yeah, Keith, by the way, is a dad too. He's got 2 boys and a daughter.
Oh, God bless you, Keith.
Both the boys served in the military, by the way.
I just got to say, even with having twin boys who could be very destructive, the moment she became a teenager, things got interesting. And I really did. I'm so glad that I did every tea party she wanted to do. Let's put it that way. But I learned long ago that you just got to take all those moments. I mean, even the really bad ones, because as long as they still need you, it's great. It's when they don't need you anymore is when you kind of feel a little.
Well, that's the minute she left home. You go through this thing, and it's like I never thought I would go through that. Where it's like, what's my point now? I don't understand my point anymore. Am I relevant in any way, shape, or form? And by the way, just so you know, Martin down here, he's the dad. He's got.
Oh yeah.
And look, I'm going to tell you, I feel bad for him because they took him out for bowling one night. This is a true story. All of his daughters and his wife beat the shit out of him bowling.
What makes you think he didn't do it on purpose?
No, he gave it his all. He gave it his all. We've talked to him. We know.
I must have done something right because my daughter is now a nurse, registered nurse at the VA, and she helps, the wounded VA. So I'm really proud of her of that. And stuff. So I don't know how she did it. Maybe that exorcism, that holy water.
Well, I think you'll relate because I remember telling people, I said, there are moments where I want to just hug her. And there are other moments when I want to Bart Simpson choke the shit out of her until she stops breathing. And it's just the way it is. By the way, I want to say good morning to everybody. I haven't gotten to that yet. And Martin, thank you for collecting names again. Penny was first one in the room here today. Anima Confusa, who is the love of my life. Andy Morrow, D. Bud Martin, Monka Jubas, thank you, come again. Again, we're not woke here. Just letting you know, Chris. We are not fine. Woke. Then we got Dragon Ruse. I see. I'm one of those people who has images in their head when you talk. I'm very visual, and hence me being an artist makes sense. And but when I hear the name Dragon Ruse, all I think is there's like this dragon hiding behind a telephone pole, looking out. It's a mask. It's hiding. Anyway, Alex Moore is here. Slasher Fred, John Ostains. Sorry, Ostains. there are a lot of stains that you want, and I think the big stains that he wants is O stains. The big O stains. Gap After Dark, Joseph Dredd, and Real Wade Nation is here. I'm going to be helping Real Wade with his YouTube channel. He's launched it. So, guys, go check him out on YouTube. I'm going to be checking him out too, because I got to be honest, I'm an okay artist. I'm okay. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm a good artist. So I want to say hi to everybody, and Andy Morrow. And if Bill Barkley here yet? No, he's not. He's not here yet. We have a lot of friends from Europe, including the UK, and Andy is in the UK. We love our British cousins, don't we, Chris?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you wouldn't want to take them to Ireland at that one point.
Yeah, Ireland is our first cousins, and because there's so many fucking Irish here. I'm Irish. I'm 88% Celt, and then I always joke I'm 12% adopted Celt because I hate the German side of my family. I'm like, fuck those people. They were German hillbillies. I met some of them.
I could tell you the only place I didn't go to in Europe was Italy, of all places. And yes, John, I am a paisan. I grew up on eggplant and whatever else, tomato sauce. And I just want to say, John, that O stain, when you get into about 68, 70 years old, you're going to see a lot of stains. So just hang in there, okay? But getting back to it, yes, I love the Irish people. I lived there for 2 years. Yeah, I had some of the great times there. You just got to kind of watch the minefield and what you say, because if you start drinking Guinness with a bunch of IRA people, if you say, hey, those British, what do you think of them? You ain't going to walk out of that bar without a black eye.
Yeah. Well, a buddy of mine is, he's a Limey. He was in the British Army and he served in Northern Ireland. And true story, he went into a pub there and he ordered a black and tan. And it was one of those moments where like in a Western, the piano stops playing and everybody stops talking and they all turn and look at him. And he's like, he's from the East End of London, so he's got a thick accent. And he's trying to figure out what did I do wrong here? And the bartender made him the drink and then leaned forward and said, finish your drink and leave. No charge. And don't ever order a black and tan in an Irish pub again.
No, it's not good. If you don't drink Guinness, they know that you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is also the beer is wired. That took a little bit used to, because you want a nice cold beer on a hot day. You go over there.
Room temp.
Yeah, and I go, this is room temperature. What the fuck?
I know. Don't you chill your beer? Here's one that'll catch you. Like when I was 13, we went on a break on a weekend and went down south towards the Ring of Kerry and ended up in a town right outside of right outside Killarney. And the only thing open was a pub Sunday morning. Only thing open. So I stuck my head in and said, we've been riding for a couple hours. It was okay if my mates and I came in to have a soda or something. And the guy goes, son, if you're tall enough to belly up to the bar, you're old enough to drink here.
Well, there you go.
And so when I was 13, I had my first Guinness room temp, and it was great. And I sat there with all my friends, and we dug out all the coins we could get. And I'm telling you, Guinness was 11.5% back then, alcohol.
Oh yeah, first of all, you're getting a pint of it, not the regular,
not a glass.
12, that we get here in America. Second of all, that beer is awful strong. There's a beer, I still can't pronounce it to this day. It's called Smithwick's or something like
Smithwick's.
Smithwick.
It's what they say.
I love that stuff. That was like absolutely awesome stuff. And God,
it's a pale beer. Guinness eventually competed with them and created their own pale beer, and it's pretty good. Don't get me wrong.
I just want to say, I loved Ireland. It was one of the best. There's two places that I really enjoyed. One was Ireland because they partied like they closed up the streets early at night. I mean, I walked out at 10
as I recall, there was only one prison when you and I were over there. At that point, it wasn't full. That place oddly had very little crime in 76, 77.
Yeah. I'm lucky that I wasn't in that prison. I think the only reason I wasn't there is because I had an official passport. If I didn't have one of them, I think the Guardian would have thrown me in there and locked me up and forgot about me.
Well, you were 19, so you're at that age of getting into trouble. I was still 13. I was a baby.
Yeah,
I told you about the gorilla. The audience knows this story. And fucking Irish girls terrified me.
They got tempers. You know, that story about Irish women having tempers is absolutely true. They'll throw, I mean, I got stuff thrown at me and everything else, and they go, "What's the problem?" You know, and they look at you, "What's the problem?" You know, I go, "Dude, you don't throw anything at me." You know, that's it. But there's still a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. The only thing is, when you went to like discos and stuff like that, I told you off air, is that you had to dress up, and I didn't know it. I was trying to be a U.S. Marine and a hippie at the same time, and it, wasn't really working out when you walk into a disco and everybody's got, suits on and everything, and I got an old ripped up army jacket with blue jeans and Adidas sneakers, and they cordially grabbed me and threw me out of the club, until they figured out I was an American and I didn't know better, but I mean that's just the way it is over there. They're in Greece, same thing in Greece. I mean, when I was over in Greece, I went to a nightclub there, and I watched them break plates. You heard of them breaking plates?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know better. I mean, here I was 18, and I said, this is really cool, breaking plates. So I bought a stack of plates, and not knowing that you're supposed to break them on the dance floor, I started whipping them at the bar. And next thing you know, I'm getting punched in the back of the head, and I'm getting the shit kicked out of me. And I'm like, what the hell did I do wrong? I'm just breaking plates, and got thrown out of there after drinking about a half a bottle of Ouzo. So, yeah, you got to learn the culture.
Yeah, I've had that stuff whole. But yeah, Europe is a bunch of little. And by the way, my the woman, Anna Confusa of my life, love of my life, she is from Vienna, but she lives in Croatia, or as I refer to it, the shithole of Europe. It's a third world nation, is what I jokingly call it. But she lives in the pretty part that looks like a mixture of coastal Spain and Greece. It really does. It just looks like it. It's beautiful.
Well, don't hold back. I want to know how you really feel about Croatia.
Look, I have a problem with a lot of those countries because of all the shit that's happened there. Yeah. But Croatia seems to have tried to uninsert its head from its ass because the big problem there, as I recall, is the Serbs. They were the big troublemakers. And but my fear with her being in Croatia is I don't trust Putin. I don't. It put Putin on the Ritz, and I don't know what if he's ever eyeing Croatia. It's like, I would like to bring that back into the fold.
I think he stepped into a pile of shit, to be honest.
He did. He really did. We can't talk about it, sadly, on the show because we'll get ganked by Google, who owns YouTube. Okay. But the fact is, it's a mess over there. And I feel bad for the people. That's where my heart always goes to, is to anybody that's in a war-torn country living there, trying to have a life. Imagine that here, having that happen here, and it's probably going to happen the way things are going.
Look what's happening in Mexico. That's a very serious thing.
And our good friend right here, Martin, is in Mexico right now.
Is he?
He's from Venezuela. His family, they relocated there, fleeing communism. And now look what's happening there. It's terrifying.
Well, I mean, from what the news is reporting, and some people have told me that are police officers down near the border, there's a war going on between the cartels and the Mexican army.
Yep.
And the Mexican army is losing
big time.
Right.
The cartels aren't playing nice. They're also using external sources and resources that Mexico doesn't have.
But you're going to have to do something. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, but if that spills over the border, we're in serious trouble, because the cartels have advanced weaponry that we didn't figure they had. I mean, they're getting supplied, and I won't say where, but they're getting supplied, and they're heavily armed and they're heavily trained.
Yeah, because these cartels are friendly with a lot of dangerous groups out there, ones that are enemies of the United States.
Yeah.
So, but we should do that. We should talk about that sometime. But today I figured we've been here for 20 minutes. That's usually how long we do our little opening. We spend about 15, 20 minutes doing our either monologuing or just fucking around. And yes, KGRA, when they brought me on, I was like terrified they're going to be afraid of me because I cuss. I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care if people like my language or not. I'm surprised that Penny watches this show so much because she is a God-fearing Christian and she is such a regular and we love her. She's also one of our hosts' mother, Danny, who does Dork Night. He does Dork Side of the Ring on Sundays. It's the wrestling show. And John is the guy down in the corner. Fuck you, John. Wave. Cocksucker. That reminds me of a joke once. I got called that once playing a game, and I was Xbox Live. Guy called me, you fucking cocksucker. I said, I want you to think about this. I have drawn royalty. I have done portraits of movie stars. I have done award-winning book covers. I have done posters to movies. I've done 2 award-winning graphic novels. I suck one cock, and what do you call me?
He's here all week, everybody. Try the
Don't
fish.
forget to tip your waiter.
Yeah.
But not too far.
Thank God podcasts don't have to go with the FCC or.
I know I was terrified because Don is my drill sergeant. He yells at me all the time and trying to keep me in line. He would sit in the chat and count how many times I said fuck. He goes, that's 14.
I love Don. I tell you, he actually, when I got into doing podcasts and stuff, I was actually the first time I ever did a podcast was on his show, Don Eckert. And he really helped me get into.
He's told me a lot about you, and because he'll bring you up, and I'm glad that because I told Bill that I want to have any of the folks that are with KGRA on the show to help. It's like when you're with a network, man, you promote internally, and I thought it'd be fun for me to meet everybody that way, and for you guys to discover and wonder why the fuck KGRA picked me up. It's like, why is this guy on the show?
No, I think it's great to have a shock program. Let it out. This is awesome because a lot of podcasts I try to be too diplomatic and too woke, and I can't stand that. I
can't either. It's fake. It's very fake, and that's one thing you won't get on this show.
Let's call it the way it is.
Yeah, I will be slightly diplomatic when it comes to certain things because, like, we can't talk about that situation over there in Europe right now. Because Google has threatened us. Whether it doesn't even matter what side of it you're on. If you talk about it, they will pull your financing, the money you make off the show through advertising and such. So Google's a dictatorship. It really is. They don't understand the concept of free speech at all. And agreed, and you know this as well as I do, that people like to throw that free speech around, but it doesn't matter with a commercial site. A commercial site has every right to lock itself down and say, you can't, like at work, you don't get to say whatever the fuck you want at work. I've tried. Yeah. I've been fired. Because every single time I've been fired, every single time is because I said something. Yeah. Every single time. I've been fired.
You work in a quasi-military organization like a police department. You can't go up to your lieutenant and say, hey, you know what? You suck. Because you're going to have a few vacation days take away from you.
Well, I tell people all the time, in the military, man, in particular. Now, in the police department, yes, there's a respect thing, but I always explain this. And I particularly love my veteran brothers that join the police force.
Yeah, that's great.
They have an understanding. They have their military bearing. They understand things, okay? Whereas you get these guys that came up through civilian life and became a cop, and you'll see them, and they're the ones you usually see out in front going, yeah, militarize the police. Let's give them military equipment. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, you're part of that society you're living in. You might see people as shitheels, but you live in that community, and you want to do the thumb thing. No, it doesn't work that way. I've got a cop buddy that's like that, and we get into it every once in a while. I said, and this shows that you're not a veteran because you don't understand the difference between the military and law enforcement, and that's a problem with some officers that forget themselves.
Yep.
And whereas all my military vet buddies that became cops aren't like that.
No, they sit back. They go, okay, let them have his speech because that way I don't have to.
Let them do their thing.
You don't have to get into a battle.
They're also usually the calmest dudes, aren't they?
Yeah. They're like, you take these guys who fought in Fallujah and some other places. A domestic is nothing to them. I've seen, and you're exactly right. I've seen police officers who do not have any military bearing, and they go off the handle. You'll stop right now. You'll do this. You'll do that. Instead of thinking and saying, all right, let this guy blow off a little steam. He's not hurting anybody. He just wants to scream. I've heard louder voices than that. And just sit back and say, okay, dude, now how do you feel? I watched cops do some of the craziest things, and it stops the fight. I watched one guy open up the refrigerator. He had the husband and wife were fighting. He walked to the refrigerator, opened it up, and just started looking at it. And they stopped. They just said, what are you doing in my fridge? Oh, I just wanted to see what you had. That's it. but it stopped them from killing each other, and he was a military veteran. He goes, hey,
I find guys with military background in law enforcement are really good at diffusing situations. And it comes with the training. It comes with staying calm. You always have to be calm. You also have to be alert all the time. I did a little drawing years ago showing people how military veterans' brains work like the Terminator, in that when you see the screen in the movie Terminator, every time he's looking at something, you see shit being written out and he's assessing things. And I said, that is your average combat veteran. I said, they're, driving under an overpass, potential threat, people walking on there, potential enemy, garbage bags on the side of the road, possible IEDs. They're constantly in threat assessment mode, even mode when they come back. And that's how veterans are constantly assessing shit. And I do it all the time. The minute I go, I don't know about you, I'm going to bet you do the same thing. Go into a restaurant, you look at where all the doors are and where you're sitting is.
I always have the wall to the back of the
always with the wall to your back. I will get fucking angry when everybody grabs the chairs facing the wall, and I'll go sit at a separate table. I'm like, I'm not sitting with my back to this room. I'm not going to do it. My anxiety is going to ruin my meal.
You can always, I'll tell you exactly, you can always tell a senior veteran who's joined the police force and a guy who hasn't. And we have to knock it into their heads. When you go to the door, you always stand to the side of the door. You never stand in front of the door. You knock like this and you stand away because you have no idea what's going to come through that door.
Yeah, it's like, did you watch that movie with Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen? I think it's somewhere in Alaska, something river, I think. It was really one of my favorite shootouts because I like realism. And the first thing she does is she stands in front of the door right before the shootout starts. And one of the cops, I think he's with Game, is on his mic and he announces that she's standing in front of the door to the people inside because he's a traitor. And they shoot her point blank through that door with a 12 gauge. She's wearing body armor, but she still gets fucked up. And then the shootout happens and it's fast. And it's brutal. And it's something Don and I do. We'll talk about our favorite movies with combat scenes or battle scenes. And we'll go through it. And every single one of them has that same kind of feel of quick and harsh. And because, when I wrote the script for City on Fire or City of Fire, which was about the Battle of Mosul back in 2004, June 24th of 2004, it was the Tet Offensive of the Iraq War. It was when the insurgency switched gears, and instead of attacking Americans or allies, it went after the people in Iraq, and it set off all those car bombs across the country. And I wrote the script about the only team that wasn't in lockdown was the 72nd Stryker Brigade. And they went out. They were the only ones who left the fob that went outside the wire that day. Everybody was in lockdown. And they had to re-secure the police station, was overtaken by insurgents, and the mosque right across the street. And it's an 8.5-hour battle. But here's the funny thing about battles. It's maybe 20 minutes, half an hour of shooting, and the rest of the time sitting around wondering, are they still up there?
Yeah.
Are they still? It's called an 8.5-hour battle, but really it was less than an hour, the total shooting time. But I got actual video footage when I wrote about it. I got it from one of the team members showing when they finally got cleared to fire a tow rocket into the fucking minaret where the sniper was. And you can actually see on the video, the dude's dead. He went out the other side of the minaret. But the thing they don't show in that video, it was because the guy didn't start recording on time. They had to be cleared for two, because the first one, it fired, and you know how tows work. It goes up and then it drops and then takes off. It's a weird rocket system, targeting system. But it didn't launch the second time. When it went up, it just dropped and then just shot across the road and went under a Volkswagen Beetle that was parked on the street. And they're just like, somebody joked, goes, whoever owns that, someone's got to let them know. Maybe leave a note. Because you know how grab-astic the humor is in the military.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was deployed in Nicosia, Cyprus, and we had an ambassador assassinated there back in '73. We were at the embassy there, and we had a sniper take out right in his office, or actually right in the hallway to his office. The sniper took him out and the secretary out. And then we got attacked by about 4,000 people. And I mean, it was just hell. And it just came on just like that. And, we're scared to death because we don't know where the sniper is.
Snipers are fucking scary, man.
They are. And so he's taken out 2 people already. So we're literally crawling on the floor of a rug. So, we don't get exposed to any windows, and just start dumping tear gas through because there's no way we're going to survive with 4,000 people unless we start dropping gas. And that place was filled with so much gas. I mean, you just couldn't breathe and stuff. Even our gas masks were useless after about an hour in that stuff. We dumped cases and cases and cases of gas just to get those people back.
Damn. Did you get the sniper eventually? We
did not. And
he got away?
He got away. He was a pro. I mean, his target was the ambassador. Got him.
Well, at that time, was that possibly Carlos?
I don't know if Carlos was out. I mean, a lot of terrorists, people didn't realize this. Nicosia, Cyprus, it was right off of Libya and every place else there.
Yeah.
So a lot of terrorists were in Cyprus at the time. And so we were getting car bombings and everything else. And of course, there was a war going on between the Greek and the Turks. There was a huge war going on. So if we weren't getting attacked by terrorists, we were worried about the bombing that the Turks F-14s were coming in and bombing the Greeks. And, one of those things hit our place, I mean, it's going to go down in the heat. And, we can't, there's nothing we have that can shoot at these F-14s coming in. So we had to just put American flags up on the roof and pray to God that, they saw, because they were bombing everything.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Everything's the enemy. We're down.
The building. What do you want me to do? I didn't know it was the American Embassy. Okay.
I told Don about this. I'll share it with you real quick. I was sitting on the back of my M113. It was the first ambulance I ever had. I was an ambulance commander. It's not a rank. It is what you are. If you're in charge of the ambulance, you're called an ambulance commander. I was just an E2. And I'm sitting up on top of my rig eating, and there was a lot of training going on, and it was some of the last missions the F4s would go on. And I'm sitting there and I hear a rumble. You hear that disconcerting rumble, and I look over the tree line right behind us, and I'm like, what is that? And then out of nowhere, this fucking phantom goes over, and the air burst that hit me knocked me 5 feet through the air, and all my food went flying. I lost my MRE. All the food was like just gone, and it knocked me off that fucking thing. And oh my God, what a blast of air. And Don shared with me that was actually a tactic that they would use, these pilots using those the air burst on ground troops and such. And I'm like, that's fascinating, because it knocked the shit out of me. And I was a friendly.
You were lucky you had MREs. We had those old World War II
C-rats, yeah, you had
the
old
John Waynes. Remember the John? I tell people
we got a couple of those.
John Wayne.
I got a Hershey bar when I opened it from an old C-rat, because when you're in training, you get what they give you.
Yeah.
And I got a C-rat during training, and I opened the Hershey bar, and it looked like Swiss cheese. There were holes all the way through it. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I went, oh my God, there were like weevils in this. And it's so old, they're not even there anymore.
How about the pound cake? You could knock somebody out with one of those.
I never had that, but my dad told me about the pound cake.
Yeah, the pound cake was like, man, this is a hockey puck. Dude,
well, I got to tell you, with MREs, almost everything's dehydrated. And I would tell the guys, because I was their medic, and I go, drink a regular canteen and then drink an extra canteen of water, whether you want to drink it or not. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable drinking that much. Drink it, because if you don't, you're going to get backed up, because that food is dehydrated, and there's a lot of the water is taken out for storage reasons. And oh boy, man, I'm lecturing these guys. And I turned around, forgot that I needed to drink extra water even more, because I'm up and moving around during meals and stuff. So I was using up more water, and I got constipated from it. And I got mad at me. But the MREs were funny, because we had a sergeant too that ate one, and he had the chicken a la king. And when I went to visit him in the hospital, because we had to medevac him out, he got salmonella poisoning. And he saw all of us walking in, and he goes, how'd you find me? I said, I followed the trail of shit. He left.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with those C-rats that they were called. You know, if you didn't drink water with them, man, you weren't going to poop for a couple of days. I mean,
boy.
You know, you were going to, some of that stuff was.
Now, I can't remember with C-rats, correct me, because was it high caloric? I know that MREs were designed for a 3,500 calorie diet, and it's just a shitload. Yeah, because they base it.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they base it off of the potential that you might not get 3 squares. So they want to make sure that you get all your calories in that one meal. Yeah. It's sort of like, what do they call that? Intermittent fasting, where you get all your calories in one meal and only eat once a day.
Yeah, you didn't realize that you were doing keto at the time or something.
Yeah, right.
But you open up, they had scrambled eggs in a can. Now, how gross can that be?
That's got to be disgusting. I never had that. That would have been terrible.
And if you didn't have the ability to warm it up, which we didn't, because somehow or another, nobody can explain it to this day, they shut off all the water, they shut off all the electricity to the embassy as we just finished this attack, make us suffer. Of course, we're stuck inside the place. We're eating C-rats, just out of a can. And when you're unlucky to get scrambled eggs, and you see all the fat that's around it. I mean, usually you can cook that off, but you're eating eggs with God knows, I don't know what kind of fat. But
please God, let it be pork fat.
Yeah. I mean, bacon fat, something like that, where, at least you got some taste to it. But it was,
exactly.
It was horrible.
But I tell people all the time, look, my military stories are cheeky and funny. I didn't have any negative experiences. I saw some stuff, But for some reason, you know, and I've tell people all the time, this is the weird thing about military life or combat and everything. You can have 3 guys go into the same firefight, and each one of them will have a different psychological experience.
Oh yeah.
And one will end up with PTSD. The other 2, for some reason, don't, and or get it differently, because each person has their own kind of stressors, you know, and the things that get to them. For me, it's like one thing that was always complimented about me was I was always calm. I'm always calm, even when I'm angry. My anger seems seething rather than raging. Like, you know, and the reason why it's like, pure example, we're transferring in a vehicle and being transported. And you know this better than anybody. I've explained this to other people. When you're in the military, there's no such thing as a passenger. You're either a co-driver or you're cargo.
One of the two.
Yeah, you're one of the two. And I was cargo in the back of a rig one time with my guys, and we're getting ready to go do some CQB, and they're all getting wound up. Everybody's got their Sony Walkman, you know, listening to fucking death rock, fucking punk, fucking hip hop, heavy hip hop. You know, everybody's like cranking it loud. I'm in the back corner listening to Peter Gabriel, In Your Eyes. And I got made fun of for it. They said, "Why you always listen to that pussy shit?" I said, "Have you ever noticed that I'm always the calmest of all you fuckers?"
Yeah.
That's why. I'm getting in my Zen zone. I'm trying to be calm. Always be calm. So, because you never know what's going to happen, and you don't want to get surprised by anything. You want to be prepared. And I'm always doing things to keep myself at a base level as a medic. You know, and even though I was medic, I was with an infantry unit, and I was part of the stack. That was a big thing. My sergeant was like, you know, we want you in the stack. So what's it going to take? Because I was only carrying my sidearm for a long time. I refused to carry a weapon. And I turned to him and I said, if you get me a Colt Commando, not Colt Commando, I'm sorry. The Colt Commando. Yeah, I told him, I said, get me a Colt Commando. And I knew there was no way he was going to do it. There's no fucking way. So I said, you get me a Colt Commando, I'll carry a weapon and get in the stack. He fucking made a deal. Got me a fucking Colt Commando. You know what that is?
Yeah.
That was the first special forces weapon of the 60s during Vietnam.
You know, that reminds me of one of that movie where the Medal of Honor winner, Doss. You remember Private Doss? He was a conscientious objector, wouldn't carry a weapon. He says, I'll be a medic. I'll go in the front lines with everybody else, but I won't carry a gun. I'm going to be there to save you guys' asses.
And that's what I went there for. That's why I volunteered. I volunteered in the time of war because I wanted to. I was older. I was 26. I was older than my drill sergeant when I was in basic. And you know, and I was a conscientious objector. And I remember my first sergeant got pissy about it one day during formation. And he's like, and he says, best shot in the fucking company is a goddamn pacifist. And I'm like, I know he's talking about me. And I was squad leader. I was up in the front, first squad, my platoon. And I'm like, it went up like that, you know. He goes, what is it, Private? Did that drill, you know, knife hand. He's like, what is it, Private? I said, are you talking about me? He goes, you know I'm talking about you. I said, I'm not a pacifist. I'm a conscientious objector. He goes, well, what's the difference? I had to explain to him. I said, a pacifist, if you walk up to them, slap them, they offer you the cheek, stab them, they won't fight you. Shoot them, they'll just die. I said, you walk up to me with a fucking, go to slap me, I'll stab you back. And I'll go to sleep that night, and I'll sleep the sleep of a saint. I won't be bothered by killing you. And he looked at me and he goes, okay, good safety tip. And by the way, where's your military bearing? And that led to the second moment where I said, it rolled right over there, Top. And he turned and looked, and then he shot me a dirty look. And I went, I did not make you turn and look. Where's your military bearing? Right over there.
Yeah, right over there. You know, and that's unfortunately some of these guys who get promoted, they forget where they came from, and they in time of war or time of crisis, they pick on the most stupidest things. and they come up with the craziest things to say. You know, it's just ridiculous. We had first sergeants that were the same way. They're more worried about your mustache or your hair or whatever.
Yeah, to the corners of your mouth.
About,
don't let that mustache go past your lip.
Oh man, the Marines are really, really big on your haircut. Nothing better touch the ear. And when you're an embassy officer, you could grow your hair. But when the first
by the way, I knew you were a Marine. Do you know how I knew?
Well, with the shirt.
Nope.
Oh,
because all I can see is United States. Even though I know what that is, I knew the minute you said you did embassy duty.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll tell you that was one of the strangest things I ever did in the Marines. It was how I got picked. I have no idea because I was a drunken fool, and how they picked me for that, I haven't a clue. Somebody must have screwed up on my background because I was a wild man in high school and college, and when they said, "Hey, we're going to do a background check on you. We want to know if you'll volunteer for this thing," and I said, "Yeah, why not? Hey, you're going to get me out of the country, get me out of Camp Lejeune," figuring I didn't know that and then I was being poisoned by the water. But I mean,
yeah, I was going to ask you if you were at Lejeune, were you part of that? Are you part of that lawsuit?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
God bless you, man.
I get headaches now and stuff like that. I have some health issues that probably could.
Yeah, my brother Steve was at Camp Lejeune, and I haven't talked to him lately, but I'm hoping he got into that class action suit.
And so, yeah, well, I mean, there's tons of lawyers that will pick it up. I like the company I'm with. These guys are really sharp. They've done class action suits before, but for people who don't know, they were poisoning the water, and they pretty much knew they were poisoning the water because they were taking all the grease. You know, when you have new weapons, M14s and stuff, you have to take all.
They were disposing improperly.
Yeah, they were dumping it in the drinking water, and
that's fucking evil, man.
Well, you know what? As we'll get on,
that's how you get kaiju
and stuff. Well, I feel like a kaiju at sometimes, when I get the headaches and stuff like that. I got
to wake up in the morning,
and then I got to take a handful of pills, and I go, okay, I'm sane again, But there's a lot of things the military did that, were evil. I don't regret being in the Marines. I do regret some of the things that I saw or heard and stuff like that, saying, dude, this just isn't right, but that's above my pay grade at the time, and
right, yeah,
and stuff. I mean, you obviously probably looked at some lieutenant or captain and said, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He's fucking nuts.
I got to tell you, man, I liked RXO, Lieutenant Bose. She was really cool. My sergeants with my unit were Sergeant Eugene Tevez and Sergeant Tom Parker. Off duty, they were my two best friends. We played cards. We went and fucked off together. Went river trips together. They were my best friends. Both of them Rangers. When I got my when I got put to E3, they were the ones who gave it to me. And they gave it to me Ranger style. They put up there and hammered it into my chest, and I was like, oh, what did I ever do to you? But they were good guys, man, and they treated me as one of theirs, and I loved it. They were the ones who taught me how to military rappel, because I'd done civilian rappelling. It's not the same. No,
it's not. I've done both, and
it's not the same. It's totally different. Scared the shit out of me because it's speed rappelling. Really what it is. That because I've seen Marines do it when they're doing recon training. They'll do the big wall, and during the training they go really slow. When you finally get trained, that shit's fast. You zip down that line, and it's like, oh, there's none of that slowly descending, bouncing. That's civilian style.
When I was a SWAT team member, we did a lot of rappelling, and
SWAT's very repellent.
Yeah, it's very repellent. But I could tell you that we were repelling the repellent. You jump off a bridge, and you you're hanging. They had you, as part of your training, you would jump from the top of the bridge, and you have to make it under the underswing. So you're like going under the bridge. You dive off.
That's some hairy
far
shit
enough,
right there.
and then you go under the bridge, and you're looking at the end of the bridge, and you're just hoping and say, God, I hope there's nothing sharp that's going to cut this rope. You know, because it's there. But the craziness of it is that you don't realize how super dangerous that, you know, you see this on television and see this, how super dangerous rappelling is, because that rope, you know, frays or anything, you're done.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. But yeah, I've jumped through windows and stuff, rappelling, slammed my head on the frame of windows, you know, and stuff going in.
How tall are you?
I'm a short little shit. I'm only 5'8".
Okay.
I just made it. So I'm 5'8".
Because I slam my head on a lot of things. I'm 6'3".
Yeah, well, you know, I just misjudged everything. You know, hey, Chris, you got to go through that window. Okay, slide down. I got this. No, I don't. Bam. Thank God we were.
I always felt like the stormtrooper from the first Star Wars movie, always banging my forehead. I cannot tell you how many times my helmet or my mask got fucked up. Like if I had my pro mask on, I just walk into things because I forget how tall I am, and it's ridiculous. But banging your head going through a window, that would really fucking suck, especially if you're supposed to be going in quick and stealthy like.
Yeah, there was no stealthy after that. You're lying on the floor inside and say, and you know your instructor's coming up and say, "Well, you're fucking dead now.
You're dead. You're
Yeah.
dead." Like Oprah Winfrey, you get a car.
And stuff.
Hey, did you do any SEER training when you were in the Marines?
I did not do SEER training. We did interrogation training and how to avoid interrogation or how to avoid being compromised.
Because that's part of SEER training.
Yeah.
So you got part of it. It's all voluntary. I tell people all the time, that's seen in GI Jane. That's not mandatory. You volunteer to go to SEER training, and you have to want to go. And I assume that you have to want to go if you want to be a SEAL.
Yeah, we were given to the Department of State. Once we went through the initial background and we got our top secret clearances, we were given to the Department of State and trained by the Department of State. So, you know, we were trained in how to avoid listening devices, how to avoid compromise by honeypots, and we really had classes on it.
Oh, sure.
Hey, listen, you know,
this is where counterintelligence
really
really comes in handy.
You got to, because you have no. I mean, we got approached by people, you know, trying to say, hey, listen, you know, here's, you know, we'll give you $10,000 if you let us in the embassy on your midnight shift, you know, and fuck you, you know, kind of a deal, because you know what they were going to do. They wanted to plant listening devices and stuff like that, and you know, even though you took all these precautions, you still found them. I mean, this intelligence, counterintelligence, these guys are really, really good. We have found listening devices, you know, throughout there that were in the damnedest things, you know, and you know, they hide them in the walls, they hide them in the ceilings, they hide them, you know. We found one in a trash can, right on the lip of the underneath the trash can.
Wow.
You never think of one of those metal trash cans you pulled to the side, and there it was.
Yeah, and it's even worse today because technology is become micro, and so it's harder even today. And back then, when you were in, they still had problems with non-electroconducting, electronic conducting spyware that didn't give off any energy, so you couldn't pick it up with sensors.
No, they could shut
because
it down. You're right.
The energy was being emitted by the object that was connecting to it. So you could sweep a room and not see these things. That's what happened with the back in 64, I think it was 65, when the Russians had gotten into the American embassy.
Yeah, they were using microwave back in 52. And
top of the hour. Look at that. Whoa. It's just, we're preparing because we go live with KGRA with all our shows on February 1st. So
we haven't even talked about a UFO yet.
Fuck no, I'm enjoying talking to you, dude. You're fun.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the middle of the film.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the second half of Pop Culture Minefields. Whatever this show's called. What is it called? UFO Wednesday, something like that.
Yes.
And by the way, Keith, I saw your message, and I did want to say hi to everybody in the chat. I saw Six dropped in. Love you, Six. Good to see you. We have a dedicated audience, Chris. I don't know. Do you have that with your shows at all? Because we love that. I love it in particular. I love it with my chat. I have not done it today because I'm so engaged with you right now. And Keith and Martin and John will say, man, we're on the show too. Are you going to let us talk? No, I'm not.
That's all right.
So why is that any different than every other
Then
time?
fuck you, John. Fuck you.
Amazing.
So I do want to address, I saw everybody's comments, great comments in the chat today. John Osteen, you're on it, dude. I read about getting fired from the movie set there, Monkey Jeeves. Yeah, if you make the talent laugh on camera when they're supposed to be delivering lines, you're going to get fucking fired. I've worked on movie sets. You don't do that. Monkey Jeeves is one of my favorite people. I fucking love that guy. He is so hilarious. He's going to get to meet you after the show. I ask you to stick around for at least 10 or 15 minutes after the show, Chris, to meet some of our chat members of our channel. These guys, a lot of these guys pay to be members of the channel. And I thought one of the nice things to do is to let them have Wednesdays to meet with Don. They love Don, and you're clearly cut off the same block as him. And so I'm already endeared to you. I'm like, I like this fucking guy.
You know how he goes? He goes, Chris, them politicians, sons of bitches.
Yeah, he's old school with that. I love that. He says it like my grandpa. My grandfather used to say "sons of bitches." He was a cowboy, really, in many ways, an outdoorsman.
He's a real military hero.
Yeah, my grandpa was born in the actual 1800s too. But he, I love the way old school guys say "sons of bitches." You sons of bitches. I love that, man. And he's absolutely 100% military bearing. I love Don for that reason. He and I have and I've always been nervous because I met him on a phone call. He called me years ago because I was working with Dale Dye, and it had something to do with that. Because we have tried to figure out how we talked the first time, and I think it's solely because I was working for Dale Dye and I got mentioned working with Dale Dye. You know who Dale Dye is?
Oh, yeah. He reminds me of a captain I had. Dale Dye is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Dale Dye is one of three people that when he says son to me, my ass clenches.
Oh, yeah.
My ass tightens up and I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to be chewed out.
Yeah,
not for any gay stuff, for your monkey. I know you're with the butt thing.
Oh, no.
We have a backdoor policy here, by the way.
Yeah, I used to have
we have. I think we have 3 breaches.
Do we have 3 breaches? I'm sorry, Chris. I have to play a video. Anytime they breach the back door, I have to play a backdoor video because one of my friends that does a really great stream, Polly from Latino Slant, jokingly called me Backdoor Gary. And it stuck thanks to Six and Kyle, Zach's. They started doing the hashtag Backdoor Gary. Now it's a thing. So anytime somebody breaches it, I have to play a video like this one. Open your back door, baby. Or more.
Front door team and back door team.
Like, wouldn't you know that back door would trigger a trap door?
Yeah, and look where we landed.
This is a fucked up show you've joined today, my friend.
Hey, I think it's a great show. I think more shows should be like this.
Well, it's Don and I do this thing. I told you when we talked on the phone. Don and I do this thing called Stream of Conscious, which is what we're doing right now, by the way. We're doing Stream of Conscious conversation. And I got to tell you, man, this is like sitting in a bar and talking to friends. That's the kind of conversations I like to have. Nothing's off the table except for politics for some reason, because Google will punish us. And the way Google does it, they will not just demonetize one show where you did it. They'll shut your entire financial banking off. Google's fucking evil. They really are.
Elon Musk will buy Google too. You never know.
Well, I had hoped, because before YouTube, I actually hoped he would buy Netflix, because he took 2 shots at Netflix a year ago. Remember that shit, Keith?
Oh yeah.
He shot right across their bow about their productions and losing money. But I think what he did was actually give them a wake-up call, because everything changed after that with Netflix. They started doing less woke stuff, or potentially lesser woke stuff.
I think my view on that is the fact that they've lost a lot more money. You know, I mean, we had been tracking Netflix for quite a while, and we were really surprised that they were burning.
That's what our
so
show
much
is about, by
cash.
the way, Chris.
And
Keith and I, we assess what's going on in the industry, film, television, all that. But we have other interests, and that's what these other shows are.
Mhm.
But he's right. We were talking about Netflix all the way back in 2018, 2019, that Netflix streaming was changing, and we did not even see the COVID thing happening.
Yeah.
Once COVID hit, it shut it down even quicker, because Hollywood, it's the leftist side that it is, shut itself down. It became its own worst enemy. It's
And
like,
so-
I have no sympathy for anybody in Hollywood. It's like, man, we lost all that money. You did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Netflix continued to borrow billions of dollars almost every year.
Well, that's the thing is,
And-
God, we're rehashing something you and I talked about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When they were already over $1 billion in debt.
More than that, because they did billion the first
That was
year.
$2 billion. That's right. It was
And
$2
then
billion
they ended up doing $2
and
billion.
then they bought a studio
Mhm.
to start producing, because they were told, look, if you want to get awards, you have to produce the actual movies, not just own them.
Yeah.
And so they went and bought a studio, start producing their own stuff, and they became over $3 billion in debt.
But what we
and they've
didn't,
not made it back yet.
What we didn't know until they started doing deep investigation into everything related to Warner Brothers and some of the stuff with Disney and others, especially Paramount, was that Netflix was keeping a lot of these companies afloat. The CW network, a lot of their shows were being financed mainly just with Netflix money.
Right.
And they were trying to make their money through selling everything overseas in Europe. And then you had Paramount was using them for the new Star Trek shows that they were doing. And that new one, Discovery, was completely financed by Netflix the first 2 years. And of course, Netflix tried to get out of it after.
Also known as STD.
Yeah, and Netflix got an STD. But
Star Trek Discovery, STD. I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you do that to yourself? That's how stupid you are. You didn't realize you named your show STD.
Hey, look, Amazon spent $1 billion on a show that nobody likes. So
what show?
Yeah,
is
the
that,
show
Keith?
we don't say the name of.
yeah,
on
we
our
don't
channel,
share
because we don't want to promote it.
Yeah,
in
we
any
don't
way,
want to
shape,
promote
or
it.
form.
It's
The show that shall not be named.
the Tolkien show. But
Now, is that Tolkien or Token? Fuck you, Keith. Don't laugh at my joke like that, you mocking bastard. But this is
I will
our
tell you,
show.
I like the CW network. I think that's a pretty cool channel. It had some really great. I like Supernatural. I thought Supernatural.
Well, Supernatural for the longest time was the only thing good on that channel.
Yep.
Once that look, Greg Berlanti, Chris, is a woke motherfucker. He's a liar. He says he's a comic book fan. No, he's not. I hate this. This is one thing that pisses me off more than anything. If somebody walks up, what would happen in the UFO community if someone says, "Oh, I'm a big ufologist"? What's the first thing you're going to do? Is quiz them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Fuck do you know? But not fucking these guys that are these executive producers and stuff that say they're big comic fans, and everybody goes, "Oh, they fall over themselves. Oh, he's a big comic fan," and it's like, why don't you quiz him? That fucking guy wouldn't be able to answer any question. Greg Berlanti's a fucking liar. He's not the only one. We have a beef with Kevin Feige too, the head of Marvel, because he's only a fan of the 80s to the 2000s. He doesn't know the history of fucking Marvel. He's only a fan from those 3 decades.
I personally have my beef with some of the producers of like A&E and stuff. They'll call you up and this just drives me insane. They'll call me up and say, "Oh, Chris, we heard all about you. We heard that you're one of the top ufologists in the world." I go, "Okay, what do you want?" "Oh, we'd love to have you, talk about your work, or can you share your work with us and show us some of the investigations and stuff?" And they don't want anything to do with you. I learned the hard way, but after they get your work, you send them and say, "Hey, here's my case on this, my case on that." You never hear from them again. They give it to some, person who has nothing about ufology, and they get him on there and talk about it. I have a real issue with one guy who says was an FBI agent. To this day, I still can't see if he was an FBI agent or not. And they call me up and say, "Hey, would you want to give the work to him?" I go, "No." Click. But it's a dirty business. It really is.
It is, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. I don't want to talk out of turn, but working for Dale Dye, I learned things, and one of the things that pissed me off about James Cameron was that he went to Dale Dye to help him plan out aliens, and then when it came time to actually pay him, hired somebody else. And it's not the first time that's happened. I'm not going to say any names because I know things I'm not supposed to know. But there's a major producer director in Hollywood who has given him a lot of work, but also fucked him over for stuff and not paid him or given him the credit due. Like, a lot of people don't know that he directed all the combat scenes in Saving Private Ryan, which is why they're the best part of that film. All the combat scenes were directed by Dale Dye. And Dale Dye... Oh, he got paid, but he was paid as tactical advisor, military advisor. He's military advisor to the stars. He's worked on more Academy Award-winning military films than any other technical or tactical advisor in the history of Hollywood. The guy knows his shit better than anybody, and he is a director. He's part of the DGA, and I would like to see more stuff by him. And problem is, these producer executives that he's helped for over years, not such good friends when it comes time to give back. Not going to say who they are, but they're fucking assholes in my book. I don't like Oliver Stone. Dale and Julia know I don't like him. I don't like him, not because of anything he ever did to Dale or Julia, but because of the fact he's a fucking card-carrying commie. Yeah, I don't fucking like commies.
And that's a shame because he's done great work. I mean, you gotta give him credit where his work is pretty good.
Oh, look, my problem, here's my beef. And Adam Baldwin, by the way, if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should be following him, Chris. Adam Baldwin, who played Animal Mother in Full Metal Jacket, is amazing. So anti-woke. He's funny as shit, knows his fucking history too. He's a smart motherfucker. Goes after the left like crazy on his Twitter account. Goes after him.
He's the same guy that was on the X-Files as a super soldier, right?
Yes, and he was also on Chuck, one of my favorite shows. Dale was in the pilot episode of that. I love Adam Baldwin. Fucking love him. Love him. And he is him and James Woods are two of the smartest actors I've ever seen. And that they just happen to be conservative is no shock. But I'm not saying that conservatives are smarter, but it just doesn't surprise me when you meet a conservative and they're super smart. And
I just want to say the other Baldwin had a fight with James Wood. I interviewed.
Oh yeah, they don't like each other at all.
Daniel Baldwin. We interviewed him because he did Homicide: Life on the Street, which is one of the most realistic police shows you will ever see. I don't know.
And they went for the handheld look, which is one of the things I think that made it look so good. Is it felt like it was a documentary.
Right, exactly. And so we interviewed Danny Baldwin because his role was so unique that, he was a troubled homicide detective that got into drinking and got into drugs and everything else. So we talked to him and he was telling us about, we got off topic telling us about the movies. And he literally, when they did Vampires with James Wood and Danny Baldwin, I guess James Wood really slugged him. And Danny says he got so mad he tried to grab him, throw him in the fountain there on the scene and stuff. But they, some of these actors get over anxious and they get into fistfights and stuff like that. We were told.
Oh yeah, I know a few. I can never talk about so much stuff I know about. It pissed me off because here's one for you. I knew about, and you guys knew it too. John knew it. Keith knew it. Knew about Bruce Campbell writing Sergeant Rock this year. It's Sergeant Rock versus the Evil Dead, basically. And we knew about that in December. I think it's the first time I heard about it because I'm friends with Josh Becker, who's made a lot of films with Bruce, and I work with and for Josh every once in a while. I also, for no money, I don't get paid. I manage his website with Daniel, who is our host on Sundays for the Dork Side of the Ring. He and I work together running Josh's website. And he tells me things, and I'm like, I can't tell anybody this. This is amazing news. Bruce Campbell, I could make this fucking channel with that news. We would have had millions of views, but I won't betray the trust of a friend. I'll never do it. I won't do it.
There's a lot of people in this industry podcast who, if they get a piece of news, they'd be blasting it just to get the subscribers.
Yeah, we knew in December, Chris, and that news didn't get released until May, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keith, yeah, May?
Yeah.
May is when it finally got released, and we'd known about it for months.
Yeah.
And we couldn't say anything, and it pissed me off that we couldn't get the scoop on it because I kept looking. Like, did he say something? I kept looking for him to say something publicly. Susan Layton, a friend of Keith's and mine that works for Rue Morgue and a bunch of the other magazines, she knew about it too, and she couldn't say anything. We're both tight-lipped. And it's because I came up in journalism. My first pro gigs were working for magazines, and I got hired for a magazine as an artist, and then like the senior editor, the publishing editor, met me at a party, and he says, he was Chinese. He goes, "You're very funny. You should write for us." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I was drunk and just being an asshole at a party, my typical self. And he was just laughing. He goes, "You say crazy things. I want you to work for me." And I wrote for him.
That's usually when you're at your best, when you're drunk and you don't give a damn.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. But then he found out I don't give a shit anytime. Yeah, because I reviewed a film, you might remember it from the 90s, called The Last Supper. Bill Paxton plays an Iraq War veteran, and he's an asshole. I hated his fucking character.
What was the name of it again?
The Last Supper. It's about a group of people who get together and plan murdering people that they think deserves it and have them over for dinner and then kill them. And I fucking hated that. It made me angry. I'm like, you're disparaging veterans when you do that. And I have a rule: don't disparage veterans. And that's why I don't like Brian De Palma, because he's a commie. He's another card-carrying commie. And he's made 2 fucking anti-soldier films. Not anti-war films. They're anti-soldier films. Okay. He did the movie with Dale Dye. Dale did his best to try to help make it less anti-soldier with that Casualties of War with Michael J. Fox and what's his name? Sean Penn. But look, Platoon already addressed the rape in their film. Why you got to make a whole movie about that? It has nothing to do with. It's all about making an anti-soldier point, and that's what pisses me off about De Palma. And then he turns around and does the movie Redacted during the Gulf War, Second Gulf War, and of course he's talking about that rape that took place in Fallujah, and murder of the family. Like, a billion fucking good things happen, and you find the one fucking negative thing to talk about.
And that's what really pisses me off. And they do the same thing in police work. They do the same thing with the military. You could do 100 great things. You got guys winning medals out there. They're doing heroic things. They're carrying their buddy on the back during firefights. I've lost 2 partners in police work. 2 partners. One was stabbed in the neck, and the other one fell into a gorge trying to rescue people. And not a fucking word at times about those guys. But if a cop does one thing wrong, and you should see the stuff that they will do to chastise the whole police.
Well, yeah, and of course,
everything.
And TV has really gotten into that thing. And I was watching SWAT until season 2, and with the first episode of season 2, man, when the main character, the guy from Criminal Minds, the black actor, really good actor. I fucking love that guy from Criminal Minds. When he left Criminal Minds, I'm like, oh. But anyway, first episode of the season 2, he apologizes and says, I'm not like those cops. That's it. I was done. I didn't want to watch it anymore.
No.
Stop saying that. Every organization in the world, every organization has 1% that are fucking shit-heels.
And that's
when
the
you
part.
focus on that 1% and start apologizing for that 1%, when 99% of the organization is fucking solid, doing their job.
I have a person, and this is such an unbelievable story, and it's all because of politics. He's sitting in prison. He's a police officer. I interviewed his wife, and he goes to a guy who's going to ambush cops. There's a call saying the man with a gun is going to commit suicide. But the guy with the gun tells the neighbor, I'm going to ambush a bunch of cops. I'm going to leave my door open. When they come in, I'm going to shoot them. Right? So, but the neighbor isn't smart enough to call the police and say, hey, you're going to walk into an ambush. And so
yeah,
the police get there. The most senior guy realizes something is not right. He tries to get the other 2 rookie police officers out of the house because they should form a perimeter, but they don't. So he has to go in and try to handle this situation. He sees the guy with the gun. He's got the gun like this. He's holding it to his head, and the guy brings the gun down like this. Now, I know this because I got the video. I actually watched the video. We stopped it frame by frame by frame. This guy was going to kill him. He shoots this guy, and he gets cleared of the shooting. Gets cleared of the shooting by the district attorney, the mayor, the police chief, internal review board. The whole bit gets cleared. Now, the district attorney and the police chief get in months later, gets into a pissing match. They don't like each other, and they get into a pissing match. So the DA goes back and indicts this guy for murder. That's how stupid this wokeism has become. After you clear the guy, you decide, because I don't like this, and I'm going to indict this guy for absolutely clear, unadjustable shoot. And so they're making a big deal that this guy did something wrong when he did absolutely nothing wrong. And they're saying, oh, look at the police. They're just going into people's houses and shooting them. What a crock of farce that is.
Yeah. Look, I'm right there with you, man. My critical statements of law enforcement is only a handful of things, which is, again, it deals with the thing that you and I were talking about at the early part of the show, which is when you get these guys who didn't come up through the military want to militarize law enforcement. And here's here's one of my favorite moments between Chris and me. Chris is one of my closest friends, and he's a cop in Lebanon, Missouri. It used to be the meth capital of the world, Lebanon, Missouri, the Ozarks. And but now it's produced down in Mexico, but they still have a huge meth problem in Lebanon. So he's always arresting these fucking crackheads, But he's like, we need to get this gear and shit like that. And I said, no, you don't want to do that. Yeah. And he says, well, we're just like the military. I said, look, man, I know you probably work with veterans, and you best not say that to them, fellow cops that are veterans, because they'll fucking come down on you. Because here's the reason why. One, anything that has a fucking union is clearly not like the military. You actually can fucking quit when you don't like your job. You can call in sick.
You can't do that in the military.
You can't do that in the military. In the military, you better go get a fucking script from a doctor and prove that you're fucking sick. And he's got to give you what's called a profile before you don't get to do anything. They'll make you fucking work sick in the military. In the military, you are property of the Department of Defense. Hence, again, passenger versus cargo, because there's no such thing as a passenger. It's like driver 1, driver 2, driver 3, driver 4. If you're on a Humvee in the back seat, you're a co-driver. That means if that driver gets a ticket on post, you're shared in that ticket.
Yeah.
These are the basic rules of the military. You're property of the Department of Defense. You damage your property off duty, guess what? You're going to get an Article 15 and possibly even court-martialed.
I can tell you that I know gunnery sergeants, salty gunnery sergeants, that know 15 ways to Sunday how to fuck with you if you don't straighten up. You know, you ever seen one of those guys? They don't get the message right away. Oh yeah, they get the message. I guarantee you, within a week, they got the message.
We had a guy during training in basic, and the only difference between Marine basic and Army basic is 2 weeks, because Marine basic boot camp is 10 weeks, Army is 8. And but ours got stretched into 10 weeks because of storms in Missouri at Fort Leonard Wood. I was at Fort Lost in the Woods. And so I got stuck for 2 weeks in reception, which is you're stuck with these guys who were fired from drill sergeants' job or never were good enough to be drill sergeants. And so they've all got a chip on their shoulder, ready to fuck with you. And so, you know, it sucked. I got to tell you, reception really sucked. We got 2 weeks instead of just a handful of days, 2 fucking weeks with these assholes. But in the process, I got a reputation for being funny, 1, and 2, I got a reputation because I played semi-pro. I played farm league baseball. And if you put a rock in my hand or anything in my hand and tell me to hit something, I will hit it every single time. I'm very accurate when I throw. It made me good at knives. It made me good at archery, and it made me good with shooting. And so this ended up going all the way through to grenade training. And we hit the lane for training on the grenade. And this guy walks up to me, the senior instructor for that lane. He says, "Are you Kissel?" And I turned and looked at him. I'm like, that's not usually a good sign if the instructor knows your fucking name. So I was like, do I say yes? I wasn't sure. And I'm like, oh, my name's on my thing. Yes, I am, Sergeant. And he says, I heard you played pro ball. I said, no, I played semi-pro, farm league. He says, I heard you can hit anything. And I'm like, holy shit, who the fuck said this? So here was the challenge I was given by the senior instructor. He said, if you squat down, you know how the grenade thing goes. You squat down below a wall, you sit there, and he instructs you, pull pin, extend arm, stand, release, drop. And so I did that. It's fast. It's like fast. I fucking tell you, he says, if you can get it in the window of that 1.5, I'll pass you for the whole fucking day. I'll pass you.
Wow. You
can go back to the barracks, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm like, hell yeah. So I did it, pull pin, extend arm, release. And so I do that, and I drop back down, and I hear everybody go, fuck, shit, god damn. And I jumped up, and I went, did I get in the window? Nobody said anything at first. He just walked over. He goes, so you're done. Get out of here. And I went, fuck yeah. And before I could go, I said, did I get it in the window that good? And he goes, dude, the mannequin in the window of the vehicle, you took its head off.
Holy crap.
And I'm like, act like you meant to do it. I went, yeah, of course I did. I walked away going, I couldn't do that again if I tried. And at graduation, he pinned expert grenadier badge.
Wow.
He came and met me, and he made it himself and put it on my chest when we graduated. I'm like, fuck yeah. I still have it to this day. Expert grenadier.
I remember the Marines are just crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah, they are.
The drill instructors there, I don't know what they do. They give them some special water, probably from Camp Lejeune.
It's Camp Lejeune water. It made you guys out of your mind.
Because when I went there, my recruiter told me, he says, don't worry about it. All those stories about them hitting you and beating you are bullshit. I want to find, to this day, if I ever find that recruiter, he's probably dead. I will beat the shit out of him. He's the biggest liar in the world. I got off that bus, and the next thing I know, I got punched on the side of the head. And I have no reason to this day why I got punched. I opened my mouth one time because when you go to reception, you have the same thing. You have these drill instructors that are absolutely out of their fucking minds. And they said, we're having a field day today, you bunch of worms. And I'm like, field day? I thought that was a track meet. I thought, wow. I said, I'm pretty good at the shot put. And boy, he just kind of stared at me before he punched me. But I mean, he just kind of like looked at me like, did this idiot just absolutely open his mouth and think this was a track meet or something? I had no idea. I was scrubbing bathrooms for the next few hours, just there. But I mean, when you're that young and you're going through this, you have no idea what a field day was. But I'm sure you learned off.
I learned what it was too. We had a Marine drill instructor. He had left the Marine Corps and became a drill instructor. He was a DI in the Marine Corps. And he became a drill sergeant in the Army. And I even did cadence for him one day because he put me out for cadence. I said, drill sergeant, private will do cadence for Marine Corps, drill sergeant, because you got to begin and end with drill sergeant. And he goes, go ahead, private. And his name was Merititi. He was Polynesian. We called him drill sergeant Titty because he had big man boobs, muscular. And you'll like this. I went, I-o-lip. He goes, knock that shit up, private. Knock that shit up, private. But
I'm getting chills from the cadence.
Yeah, I know. It's God. Well, I learned it, because as a kid with a brother in the Marine Corps, I learned all this stuff. Plus, I've always been fascinated with the military since I was a little kid. I love the military. And my dad was a grunt, he was atomic artillery when he was in. And he was stationed right there. He was during the Cold War. He was right on the front lines of what would have been a war with Russia at the time. And I learned all this stuff from my dad because my dad's a war historian. That's what he taught was history. He was a history prof. The guy made me passionate about history, especially military history. And I'm actually published, by the way. It was removed when they found out I was American. I was on the official CD-ROM for the Tower of London back in 2000 because I wrote an article, an essay on William Marshall, the greatest knight who ever lived. And he had a hotel room in the Tower of London. And when they found out I was American, they were like, you're a colonist? No way. Oh, we can't have that. We can't have that in the. So they found someone else with an article that was nowhere near as thorough as mine. But I love military history.
And, military history is great.
This is how the world was formed. The modern world that we know would not be what it is, not with diplomacy, not with politicians, through military. If not for the militaries, our world would not be what it is.
Yep.
And you learn a lot about human sacrifice, and I don't mean killing.
The true. You correct me if I'm wrong here. I've explained to Anima, my girlfriend, that the true romantic notion is the willingness of an individual soldier, a Roman soldier, to give up his life for a fellow Roman soldier. Exactly. That's where the romantic word came from. And soldiers have that. And I love it when Hoot says that in Black Hawk Down. It's one of my favorite moments in that film. He says, they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get why we do it. It's not about the war. It's about the guy next to you.
Exactly.
And when I was a soldier, what was my biggest fear? And I guarantee you had that, was fucking up and causing someone I served with to be hurt.
Die.
I was so focused on what I'm doing that because I was terrified of fucking up and getting somebody hurt. And every real soldier is like that.
Yeah, I was so close to the 7 guys, and it had nothing to do with it. There's 7 guys who are facing, ultimately, probably going to get killed. That's what we were told, because we got a note saying you're not allowed to give up that embassy. The only way you can give up that embassy is if they take the 3rd floor. Well, there's only 3 floors of the embassy, so if they
I know. If they take that 3rd floor, you're dead.
And this came from Henry Kissinger, and I'm like, dude, wait a minute. If they take the 3rd floor,
I fucking hate that guy.
And I'm like, okay, so they made us write out our last wills and testament, and it says I will not. And I'm basically saying, my brother's here. My brother's in arms. I will not let you down. We looked at each other and said, we're not going to let you down. And that defines the human being in all of us, where we say to each other, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, Hispanic. It didn't matter. There was nothing of that. It looked each other in the eye and said, I will not let you down. I will be there for you. And that's the only way we won. And it leads
to some humorous moments too, that brotherly thing, because they're threatening us right from basic training And I wasn't threatened by it. That's why I volunteered. They're threatening to just put us straight into combat training and going straight over to the Gulf. And I'm like, send us. And 4 of us volunteered to go straight out of basic. We were like, let's go. And the drill sergeants were like, they didn't know how to deal with the 4 of us because they're like, we're trying to. Oh, Keith's falling asleep.
Well,
Keith came straight
sorry,
from work.
Keith,
He worked.
you join in any time. I'm a guest, so I mean, you won't
Keith,
see me again.
Keith works all night, and he hasn't been to bed yet. So I always feel bad for him. I always tease him about it, but the fact is that dude hardly ever sleeps. But anyway, I turned to Julio Gonzalez, my best friend in the Army. Him and John Davis, and 2 of those guys, 2 of my best friends in the Army are still my friends to this day. Julio, I lost contact with, and it bugs me. I can't find him because he was my best friend in the Army. And he turned to me, he says, yo, Kiss Man. He had the weirdest accent. He had a Cuban accent mixed with Chicago accent. And it was really weird. He'd call me Kiss Man. Yo, Kiss Man. Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm so scared. They might send this. And I said, what are you scared about? And he says, man, I'm so afraid that like when the chips are down, I might run. And I went, you ain't gonna run. He goes, yeah, man, but if I do, I need you to shoot me and pull me back. You let me die in the front. And I'm like, dude, I'll fucking do that. And if I chicken shit and run, he goes, oh, I'll shoot you in a heartbeat.
Wow.
I was like, fuck you, dude. You've already been thinking about this, you cocksucker. But that's that bond.
So friend.
Yeah,
I'll put one in your back. Don't worry about it.
Back and pull you back. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You better make sure I'm actually running. But in the Army, I was told by my dad, these will be some of the closest friends you'll ever make. And no truer words are spoken because I've had great difficulty finding friends in the civilian world because it's hard to find people with that kind of commitment, that individual commitment to another human being. And I slough people off all the time because I'm like, no, you're cool to know, but you're not a real friend. Keith, like the guy that was snoring over there, absolutely. He's one of my best friends. John, he's okay. I like him. I've known these guys for a long time.
You know, did you notice that?
What's that?
It kind of interrupts the conversation. He's kind of talkative.
John, I have to ask every once in a while, go, John, move. I want to make sure you're still there, that you're not frozen, because he's so damn quiet. But I've got close friends, these guys, but a majority of my closest friends are all either fellow veterans or guys I served with. Mm-hmm. Because you want to have people in your life that's got your back. And it tends to be a lot of times, a lot of those guys are veterans or guys that raise veterans. Like Keith has 2 boys that he raised, and both of those guys served. And he himself is a military kid. He was a military brat. Keith was. Never got to serve himself, but he raised veterans. And so he gets that, what do we call that? That honorary stripe. You know, he's an honorary vet because he raised vets. But, you know, it's like people just don't understand that commitment to another human being. Marriage is nothing compared to the commitment you have as a veteran with the other soldiers you serve with. But that said, you know that there are guys, we call them Blue Falcons. You got them in the military, every branch. Also known buddy fuckers. Yeah, buddy fuckers. These are guys that if you're in the military, if you're a Marine or Army in particular, infantry trained military, Marines and Army, both have a very similar attitude of get those fuckers away from me. You can't fire them.
No.
So you promote them the fuck out of your unit. Get them the fuck out of here. Make them somebody else's problem.
And then sometimes they become your boss.
Oh my God! So many buddy fuckers get up in the ranks because of that. This is how that, like, how does a guy like that get ahead? Because other people promoted him to get them out of their unit, and that's how they get up in the ranks. And then they'll end up your fucking boss, and they're the worst fucking human beings you'll ever meet. These guys, buddy fuckers, are what you refer to. And if you get called this in the military, it's not a compliment. Individual. If you get called an individual in the military, they're telling you you're not a good soldier.
Yeah.
Because you're not part of the team.
Like I say, the biggest problem is that the only way to get rid of them sometimes is to promote them. Because they're too fucking
Make them somebody
stupid.
else's problem.
They're too ignorant, and they say, okay, we're going to promote you and get you out of here. But that wheel comes around, and the next thing you know, and I've had this in both police work and in the military. You say, hey, this guy is being transferred to your unit. And you're like, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
I just got rid of him.
We got rid of him, and now he's going to be my boss. And I'm like, oh, man, you got to start popping the aspirin.
It's the cycle, and it really does happen. But you have people that are untrainable, and you run into them all the time. And I got to say something to Monkey Jeebus, because he said that his father called him an idiot or something like that. And so he never went in the military. Here's what happens in the military. One of two things, people like that. You either fucking get it beat out of you, or you get recycled during training, or if they feel you're untrainable, they'll give you that you don't get your VA. They just kick you. They go, look, this dude's untrainable, and you won't make it out of training. I've seen it happen. We had this guy we called New York, because he's from Brooklyn, black kid. First time I met him, man, he walked up to me and he's like, hey, man, you like eating pussy? And I'm sitting on the first day in basic. I'm sitting on a bunk. We haven't been assigned our bunks yet. I'm in a major bay. And I turned and I looked at him. I went, what? He says, you like eating pussy? I said, why are you asking? And he says, I was just wondering why your teeth's so yellow. And I went, oh, shit, you know me. And he goes, what? I said, you know me. He goes, no, I just met you. And I said, and you're talking to me like that. And you don't realize if you keep doing it, I'm going to beat the fucking shit out of you in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, man, I'm just fucking around. I said, fuck around somewhere else.
I'll tell you, how they straightened up, because everybody, I don't care if you're the honor man in your platoon,
right?
You will go to 1 day motivation. You go to 1 day motivation platoon. Now, 1 day motivation platoon, they pick the craziest, nastiest,
most difficult
motherfucker drill instructors in the world. I don't care. They ship them from overseas if they have to. And these guys are insane. And every Marine will go, because they want you to know, if you fuck up, if you become a wise guy, this is what's in store for you. And it is a day of pure hell. They will PT you to death. They will make you walk into swamps. They will make you roll in mud. When you come back, you look like you've been through World War III and you're exhausted. And you go, dude, I will never screw up in my life, because
it really does.
I can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pulling those wrinkles out of your ass. Put that back up, Martin, from Zax. My buddy Zax is here. I mentioned it earlier with the whole hashtag Backdoor Gary. He was one of the people that kept that thing going. Here he does. He does this thing. He'll misquote me, and it's fucking awesome. Quote, we had this guy named New York. He was from Wisconsin. End quote. Gary, 2023. Now, see, I wanted to tell you what happened to this guy. He had a fucking wrinkle in his ass. And this kind of pissed a lot of us off. I was a squad leader. I was made squad leader like right off the bat because I had my shit squared away. And this guy did not. And so they took him out, and that group of drill sergeants, the meanest, toughest drill sergeants, took him out while we were doing training. He was over on another section of the training field in the tall grass that hadn't been mowed yet. And they made him do grass drills, and they made him low crawl. You know, low crawl.
Oh, yeah.
They made him low crawl through that fucking grass. There wasn't a part of him that didn't have cuts on it, that wasn't covered. Everything that was uncovered was cut. And while they're doing this, we were told, yeah, they're kicking him. I said, then why are they doing that to him? It's fun. And I'm like, you guys are fucking assholes. You're going to put this guy through that and then kick him.
He got the wrinkles out of his ass. So
they got the wrinkles out of his ass and they kicked him. And it made me feel bad, because even though I threatened to kick his ass day one, I grew to like this guy because I thought he had a good heart. He just had a problem. He didn't know how to be a soldier. he had never been put in a position like this before in his life. And oddly, one of the best soldiers I served with, Teddy, he was a fucking gangbanger. He was involved with a gang shooting, and he fled and joined the Army. And I remember during basic, when I found out about that, I just turned to him. I said, when we're outside, this is an open post. You stay the fuck away from me. Because there's people looking for you, and I don't want them finding you with me near you.
You know, a lot of times, especially the Marine Corps, judges used to go, you got a choice. There's a recruiter over there. You're either joining the Marines or you're going to prison.
Yeah, these guys met one of my best friends, Victor Armstrong. That's what happened to him. I gave him bad advice and told him to beat another kid's ass for calling him the N-word in school. I said, go kick his ass. So next day, he beat his ass. What I forgot was it was also his birthday a week before. He just turned 18.
Oh.
So he beat his ass, and then he got arrested and charged for striking a minor. And judge gave him a choice, Marine Corps or military or jail. He chose military. He went to Marine Corps. And I felt bad for 20 years until I found him. I lost contact with him, and I wanted to apologize to him for just the worst fucking advice ever. And you know what he said to me? He says, Marine Corps saved my life.
So what you did, life.
He says, you, what you did, giving me that advice, changed my life for the better. And I stopped feeling bad, and I'm like, okay, I feel good now. Because Keith knows, I was like, my name is Earl. I had a list of people that I felt that I offended when I was younger, that I had to go back and apologize to every single one of them.
One of the things the Marine Corps taught me was you never give up. You don't give up. I don't care if it's in battle, in life, or anything. You could be down and out, and you'll pick your bootstrap. I remember, the drill instructors, teaching us. You pick yourself up off the fucking floor, and you keep moving forward. And that old Sylvester Stallone thing, and in one of the Rocky movies, he says it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you fall down and you pick yourself up to move forward again. And that's what it's all about. It's no matter what pain, no matter what agony, no matter what trouble you're in, you can always move forward and make it better. And that's one of the things the Marines always taught me.
Yeah, it's like you're not dead yet.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
keep going. And and it's something that Don and I talk about all the time is, you don't give up. You improvise, overcome. You just every situation. And even though you're not an individual in a Marine or Army unit, you are still thinking. And sometimes that forward thinking is what's going to save everybody's ass.
Exactly.
They want you to think outside the box. And, people ask me where I learned to do that, because in marketing, I worked in marketing, but I never went to school for marketing. And I said, I learned it from the military. The military taught me to think outside the box at all times. Always be prepared for a situation and never, it's always nice to hope for something to happen, but don't expect it, because it's likely not going to go the way that you're planning. And you have to be prepared for that change. And the military really does. Infantry in particular, Marine infantry and Army infantry are very similar in their mindsets.
It's really the same.
Yeah, it's very identical in so many ways, which is why I love my Marine brothers, man. It's like we get each other. And I tell people all the time, I was a combat medic. Yes, I was a conscientious objector. But every single guy I knew that if the cards were down, I'd fucking kill for him. I'd take a bullet for him. And that's all that matters. And by the way, this has been an episode of Dangerous Military Nerds instead of UFO Wednesday.
What's about a UFO?
Not one goddamn thing about UFOs. But I love being with veterans. As you can tell, I love just talking with fellow veterans. I just love it.
Yeah, John had mentioned something about MUFON, and do you still have that post by any chance? He mentioned why am I in MUFON and stuff. I just wanted to answer.
Oh, I'm sure it's up there. Martin, can you find it?
What?
Martin is in charge of the chat. There was a comment by John Osteen about MUFON. Because I am curious, because look, you went from the Marine Corps into law enforcement, very similar to Don, went from the Army straight into law enforcement. I was going to go into law enforcement. I told you over the phone what happened. Affirmative action screwed me, because even though I had the highest score of that group, I was the last person to sign up for the test to join. So therefore I got kicked, and it pissed me off. So I didn't want to be a postman. I really didn't. Great job, great benefits, all that shit. But I wanted to work in service of society. I was raised to want to be in service of people. I like taking care of people. And so I said, fuck it. I tried being a nurse. I hated it. It's just boring. So I became a paramedic, and I got burned out after 4 years of that. 4 years of being a paramedic. Here's what happens. And you know this. I know you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a certain point where you may lose contact with the humanity side of you, and you begin to look at people as objects instead of people. And I felt it when it started happening. And one of my partners as a paramedic was like that. And I love that guy. He was funny as hell, but that guy was completely detached from the humanity side. And I didn't want to be like that. And so I quit, and I went back to nursing. But that burned me out so quickly, and I just quit medical altogether because I couldn't do it anymore. I became so fucking broken up over things because people I would take care of would die. You know, it happens.
I will tell you this: unsung heroes, nurses. My wife is a nurse. My daughter's a nurse, and I will tell you, my wife was a professor of Russian studies at Hobart College, Syracuse University. Graduated at Cornell with her PhD.
Ow. Damn.
And speaks fluent Russian. Actually, speaks 6 different languages. She came to me one day and said, "I want to become a nurse." And I go, "First thing we're going to do is get you a drug test. Why do you want to become a nurse?" But she did, and she became a fabulous nurse. And I could tell you, nurses are unsung heroes because the shit they got to put up with doctors, the shit they got to put up with administrations, the shit they got to put up with, trying to keep people alive.
Yeah, I could tell you stories about working and I had an administrator one time from a nursing home come over and start giving me shit. And I looked at her, and this is the military in me. I turned and looked at her and I said, "Why are you talking to me?" And she's like, "What?" I said, "Why are you talking to me? You're not my boss. That lady over there is my boss. She's my superior. You have nothing to do with the medical end of this. So why are you talking to me?" And then I turned to my director of nursing. I said, "Why are you sitting there quietly and letting this woman who has nothing to do with what I do talk to me?"
Yeah.
And this lady says, "You sit down." She would tell me to sit down. And I turned and looked at her. I said, "Lady, I survived the evil end of an AK-47 fully intent on killing me. And I walked away from that. Do you think you make me nervous?" And I got up and I walked out of that office, and everybody's like, "Holy shit, you're badass." I went, "That's nothing." I know a lot of real badasses. I just won't take shit off people.
Upstate,
Military.
Syracuse Hospital, upstate, had their emergency room was so violent, they had to hire cops part-time, and I worked up there part-time to protect the emergency room, doctors and nurses. And because people would come in, and they come in with guns. They would destroy the emergency room. Chairs be flying, windows be busted out, riots be in the parking lot. Gang members shooting each other and everything else.
I got in the middle of a gang shootout in the middle of Harborview Hospital in Seattle.
And that's gotta be crazy.
Cops and 2 gangs in a shootout. And I turned to my partner, and my partner's like, because I've been shot at, and I know when a bullet goes over my head or near me, I'm like, I'm moving out. I'm going. Fuck you guys. And I'll just fucking bug out because I don't want to get hit. And I had a partner piss her pants when we got shot at one time in our rig, and she got pissed all over me, all over the rig. But that time I just got the fuck out of the ER. I was like duck walking out.
Yeah.
Duck walked out of there. I'm like, I'm going, you should leave with me. Someone's going to get killed in there. Gangs, man. Scary shit.
I watched a nursing supervisor. He probably was a veteran because the doctor was giving his nurse some shit. And he turned around and says, "I'm calling the head nurse." And he told the head nurse, he says, "I'm kicking this doctor out of the emergency room. I'm having the police escort him out." And the doctor said, "You can't do that to me." And he turned to me and another cop and said, "Get this guy out of my fucking emergency room." And they threw the doctor right out of the emergency room. You don't give nurses shit because
nurses are the ones that
stuff.
run things there.
Yep.
Here, I'm going to tell you this quick story because I think you'll enjoy this. When I was with King County up in Seattle, it was right after I processed out of the Army, my ATS, and I just went straight into paramedicine. I loved it. And I loved it when I would have to write reports where I knew something was going to be fucked up in that report. And I just would love the looks on doctors' faces or the triage nurse's face when they would read what I wrote. Because, with when you write your reports, just like with law enforcement, you write your subjective and objective.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm writing subjective and objective report. And in there, the objective part is, the objective part is where I'm describing what I'm seeing. This is what I saw. I palpated all 4 quadrants on this woman's abdomen. I noticed there was slight rigidity in the upper 2 quadrants. Patient complained of blah, blah, blah. And then you put the subjective part there, complaint. The complaint says, patient complained of pussy discharge. Foul-smelling pussy discharge. Right. Quote, in quotes. And then I turn the report into the triage nurse that ends up in the intern's hand in the ER. And this doctor comes walk to her. I'm in the closet getting gear because we always leave gear and then we have to go pick it up and put it back in the rig and carry it back to the station. So as I'm doing this doctor walks up and goes, "Are you the one who just dropped off?" And he's really angry. And I said, yes. He says, "You want to explain to me why you said this?" The quotation. I said, "What, the pussy discharge?" And he goes, "Pussy. Oh." And he walked away from me. And he walked over to the triage nurse. I heard him. I could hear him talking. He goes, "What does that say?" She goes, "Pussy discharge." He says, "Am I the only one that read that wrong?"
Yeah, but that's how doctors are sometimes.
They're funny as shit, man. And I love fucking with doctors. Our favorite thing to do when we drop off and we'd leave, we'd go around the back of the hospital to rotate out. And all the doctors are parked back there, right up next to the hospital, close by, so they had their own private parking. And we discovered that if we key our mics as we go by the cars, we set off their alarm systems. And it was just a fucking game all of us paramedics would do. We'd go by their rigs and key the mic and set off all their car alarms.
They'd be running out there. Yeah.
It was so annoying. Paramedics and doctors are at war all the time.
Same thing with nurses and doctors. I've seen nurses and doctors go to war. And I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 times the doctor loses because they can't survive without the nurses. They
need that staff, the nurses and the ER techs. Martin, you were about to say something, my friend?
Yeah.
Are we getting near the end?
Yeah, we have 5 questions, UFO related. They are short.
Yeah, the MUFON question. Let's get into that. Answer that question for Osteen.
Yeah, if you would put it up for me a second. Okay, why does such a straight shooter like myself stay involved with MUFON? It's because I was a skeptic, John. I didn't believe in UFOs. When in the police locker room, when somebody said they saw something in the sky, we would torture that guy for about a week. We would put up aliens on his locker, hang things from the wall, everything. And, it was that police culture that you didn't believe. I don't care if an alien dropped on the hood of your patrol car. You just wouldn't believe it and you wouldn't talk about it. It was taboo to talk about it. So when I had nothing to do, I was retired. I had sold my businesses. I was doing something. I actually saw they were looking for field investigators to do this. And I said, I don't believe in any of this crap. I can prove that this stuff is nothing more than, military stuff flying around and stuff. So I actually became a field investigator with MUFON, got assigned to a team. And I went from a skeptic to a believer because there was just so much evidence. And a lot of times people don't see it, but it's there if you do it. Became a believer. Now, that being said, any organization like MUFON where you have all different types of people, you're going to have some controversy at times. There's going to be some problems over the years. You get a bad supervisor or you have some things that, the news picks up and say, MUFON's doing this and that. But each state is run by their independent chapters, and I think we do a great job here in New York. I'm very happy with the field investigators, very proud of them, very proud of everything that we do here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I want to get into this some more. We need to have you back just to talk about UFOs with Don.
Anytime.
No, I'm totally I bonded with you now. I bonded with you. I fucking like you. So, has Chris seen in the UFOs?
Yes, I have. I have in Tuxedo Park, New York. Tuxedo Park, the village of Tuxedo Park is the Area 51 of the East Coast. And if I ever come back, I'll explain why I made that statement. Some highly secretive stuff is being done there without people knowing. And I did witness a UFO with another police officer there.
Did you see any UFOs? Bill Barkley is our friend from Scotland. Hey, Bill Berkeley, how you doing, laddie? Anyway, he's asking, did you see any while you were in the military?
I did not. I never seen one before, and like I said, I didn't believe in it. I was an absolute skeptic.
Well, Gary, Bill is asking you.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah.
I've seen some unidentifiable fucked up objects when I was in the Army. Unidentifiable or uniform fucked up objects too. I gotta tell you, I don't know about you, how many women you saw in uniform. I'm gonna tell you, when I was in the Army, I had a problem with women. I loved them, and nothing. And I said this to my best friend Julio. I turned to him, the woman that I would eventually marry and have a child with. She passed away of cancer, Alicia. When she turned to walk away from me one time, I just stopped and watched her wag her ass in that fucking uniform. And I'm like, guys do not look that good in a fucking uniform like they do. They just do something. And I've had a thing for women in uniform ever since. I just love women in uniform. Did you run into it? Because in the Marine Corps, you don't have as many females as we do in the Army.
No, but I agree with you. There's something about a woman in uniform. They look really, really good.
Especially when they turn to walk away and that ass wags. It's like, guys, men just look like men. Women, you could spot a woman in uniform really quickly, especially in BDUs or I don't know what you called them when you were in basic duty uniform.
Yeah, same thing.
Fatigues. She would be wearing, when Alicia would be walking away from me, her ass would wag. And I'm like, is she doing that on purpose? I was like, holy shit.
And the same thing goes with nurses in scrubs. There's nothing finer than a good-looking nurse.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Damn.
I have been caught
fits well
checking out asses when I was, because I'm like, Speaking of asses, we're at the end of our show, the ass end of our show. And John Osteen, Enema has a special place in heaven for being in love with me. I don't know why she loves me so much. I really don't. I'm grateful for her every day. It's like, because I'm a fucking prick. But she said it was
syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. There you go. It's like I just don't know. I'm grateful that I'm like, really, I just said that, and you still love me after I said that. All right, this girl's for me. She's for me. Because I say, and she loves the military now. She used to not know anything about the military, really. Now she focuses like when I told I make fun of movies where they finger the trigger too much. Get that finger out of that trigger housing. That's not your 16-year-old girlfriend. Get that finger out of there. And and so she spots that now. She spotted it with John Wick. I hadn't even noticed it, that he does that a lot. He's always got his finger in the trigger housing.
Yeah, and he was trained. They took
very well trained.
But
I'm going to tell you who the best trained I've seen so far is Chris Pratt in Terminal List. Have you watched that yet?
No, I have not.
We are talking about it on our Monday show, which you join us. If you want to watch that show, join us on Mondays. We talk about, on Military Monday, we talk about military movies or TV shows. And right now we're doing Terminal List on Amazon. I've never seen anybody ever in the history of military movies or TV turn like he does. He has a perfect right angle turn when he turns a corner with that weapon at the high ready.
Wow.
And I've never seen anybody do that in a movie or TV show before. Also, he did a shoulder switch. Nobody has ever done that. I've never seen that. And I watch a lot of military movies and TV shows. He did a shoulder switch, shoulder switch, because when you're going up, depending on the angle you're going up, you may have to shift shoulders in order to maintain aim where you're looking on whatever it is. Like you're moving upstairs. That's what he's doing. He's going round upstairs, and he was focused on this room. And so when you go up and you're going to the right, you can't, if you're right armed, you have to shoulder switch to maintain aim on that weapon, you know, on that door. And they showed him do it. And then I found out, even though they show no training videos, and we need training videos for this show, we need to see him training, because he had multiple Navy SEALs, active and former duty Navy SEALs, on set at all times, making sure he was doing everything right. His use of the tactical tomahawk, too. I have that in one of my books, where he's trying to do a stealth jump onto a building, and they're having a rooftop party in this scene in Vindicated Incorporated, and he doesn't want to give up his position. It's these he jumped out of a helicopter onto this roof using a paraglide, and as he's coming down, one of the security guys looks up and sees him, and he throws a fucking tomahawk into his head and kills him.
Did it right.
Yeah, he just, because he knew, he was afraid. He's looking at the guy, and he's looking around because something got his attention, and he's got the tomahawk already in his hand. He's holding on to it, and he let go of it for a second and just fucking threw that thing right into the guy's head and drops him in the middle of a dancing crowd. Nobody notices this guy's dead, and ends up in a big firefight on top of this roof. People screaming and running from the party. It's one guy against a bunch of bad guys. What's that?
This show is on Amazon Prime.
No, Terminalist is. That's my book.
Okay.
That scene I'm talking about is in my book called Vindicated Inc. But anyway, also senior military advisor on my book is Dale Dye. He makes sure my shit's always accurate.
Dale is awesome. I'll tell you, he reminds me so much of a Captain Prince. But he's a real warrior. He's a real
he
deal.
is. A lot of people don't know that little scar on his eyebrow. That was when he got shot in the head and his eyeball got popped out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, lots of little things about him that I know. I love talking about, man. That dude's the real deal. I love it when somebody tries to start a fight with me. He wasn't really in combat. He was a correspondent. I'm like, you don't know your fucking history, and you need to shut the fuck up. I know what battles he was in. He was in the battle at Way City, motherfucker.
If he was in the battle of Way City, man, he's a
Yeah,
warrior.
he was there when Uncle Walter did his report and sent it back on 16 millimeter with analog audio, and they added the gunfire because the battle was already over when he did his report. And they added the effects of the guns going off, the battle in the background. Such a fucking liar, Walter. Oh, fuck him, Uncle Walter. So anyway, we're at the end of the show, man. For all my buddies that are veterans, I'm going to play this one's, where's it at? Here it is. This is for my morning show.
Hey, here's your free cup of coffee from a lady in Rhode Island. What?
I made this one for Don Ecker.
You got any good stories I could tell him about how cool Nam is? You know, there's lots of things you expect in war. Carnage, the sleepless nights. But what they don't prepare you for is the incessant use of Fortunate Son.
You don't deserve your family. Who taught Chris to whisper black out of respect for blacks? Me!
I made that one just for Keith. Is he awake yet? Or is he? No, he's sound asleep. He hasn't muted his mic. So that's the end of the show, guys. I'm going to play the outro credits. Chris, stick around. I'm going to send an invite for anybody that's a member. Oh, Keith is there. He's still alive. But thanks for being here, Keith. I appreciate it, buddy. You know, you had a choice of going to bed or being on this show this morning, and you chose this show and going to bed at the same time. This is what makes me a dick, Chris, because I say things that people think and don't think they will ever say, and I'll say
we're all dicks.
And for those of you who came for UFO Wednesday and didn't get any UFO stories, fuck you. Come back next week. You'll get more. We love you guys. I appreciate all you. I want to thank, let's get through the list. Penny, again, first one in the house. Anima Confusa, love of my life, tolerates my crap for some reason. Andy Morrow from the UK. D. Bud Martin. Monkey Jeepus. Dragon Ruse. Slasher Fred. Alex Moore, also from the UK. John Ostains. Gap After Dark. Joseph Dread, Real Wade Nation. Snortapoopus Cuber is here. And, of course, the lovely Six. We love you, Six. You are so awesome. Peter Vinkman fan site, love you too. Thanks for being here. Bill Barclay from Scotland. Zach's, he's from the lower, he's not a Highlander, he's a lowlander from Scotland. So I think in Scotland they refer to them as the pussies. I don't know. Is that true, Bill? Let me know. The pussies of Scotland. Oh my God. I'm gonna get so much hate for that. Zach's. Buddy, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for the misquote. Keely Chow, it's always wonderful to see you. And by the way, Keith also mentioned that when I was talking about that Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen movie, it's called Wind River. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should watch that. I recommend it, Chris. It's that battle scene, that final shootout there. Intense. Because you're encircled by good cops and bad cops. And you don't know which one's which at first. And then when the shit hits the fan, you find out quickly. And so they're shooting each other, shooting into this. It's a tough fucking show. I love that movie. Taylor Sheridan, best screenwriter on television right now. Even Mikey Sutton agrees with me. It's like best fucking screenwriter on television. And director, too. He's a very good director. So I want to thank you guys for being here. I will send the link to the group so you guys can join us. Oh, wait. Did he say something? Wait. Anywho, bye, guys. Time to get back to Wednesday. By the way, I flexed the wrong muscle. Whatever. I don't know what that means. Love you guys. I'll see you next time. See you tomorrow for a fantastic Thursday. We'll be talking about 1899. I think that's our final episode talking about 1899. Right, John?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll be a good show because we watched the finale and it's a mind fuck. It is an absolute mind fuck ending. Netflix should be ashamed of themselves for canceling the show without offering a movie to do a wrap up because all it did was open up more questions for what's going on. But we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless. And keep your eyes out on the skies, man. You never know. It could be the thing, man. It could be the thing.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon for updates on our shows and channel.
Yeah.
Also, please leave a comment. And we'd
leave a comment. That'd be a good idea.
Episode, as well as letting us know if there's something you'd like us to cover in a future episode. Don't forget that you can become a member of Pop Culture Minefield now. Make sure to visit our membership page and merch store at popcultureminefield.com. You can always find Pop Culture Minefield on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.
Best outro theme on YouTube right here. Hey, that was Martin's theme. Martin, did you do something on this show? Oh, look at all those. Mike Snow, Bob Gowan, Jim Woodward, Cena, Mr. People from deleted scenes. Look at that. That's Steven Seagal. Fuck that guy. I love it. Tom Connors. Yeah, good name. Fuck those guys too. Kenny Ballard. That guy. I love him now. That's all, folks.
Y'all come back now. You hear?